What's up, guys? I'm just going to start installing my shower pan. I just got a three-piece kit here. It's very standard across the board. I believe we picked this one up from Home Depot for $300 or $400. But essentially we have our cutouts in the floor of our concrete, and we need to make sure we can get our P-trap on and aligned with the drain hole on the shower pan. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Just dry fit everything and just keep maneuvering it around, set it up, look down your hole, make sure it's all in line. And then once I get that in line, I'll take a marker and mark where all my fittings are to glue them up a little bit later today. So I'm gonna get this P-trap in, and then probably get a little extension pipe that comes up through this drain hole, and then we'll be pretty much ready to fasten the shower pan to the wall. I just wanted to give a shot of what the inside of our concrete hole looks like. I dug out some of the gravel so the P-trap will fit. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I'll just dry fit everything so that we can get it lined up with the bottom of the shower pan. Not sure how well we'll be able to see in there, but I've got that pretty much centered on the drain hole. And now I'm gonna run a piece of drain pipe up, measure it so that it's flush with the bottom of the shower pan. And then I'll mark everything to get ready for glue up. All right, so I just pulled my P-trap out of the hole again, and you'll see I made marks on every intersection on both edges of the PVC pipe. And that just makes it so when I go to glue this all back together again, everything is exactly in place where I need it. I'm just using your typical PVC glue. You gotta be careful with this adhesive. Make sure you get the correct adhesive for the type of plastic pipe that you use. This is just standard PVC, so I'm using the regular PVC glue. But you'll want to know what kind of plastic your drains are made out of. So I'm going to glue this up real quick, and then hopefully we can get all this installed here. Off with the purple primer. This stuff makes a mess. Luckily, I don't have anything I'm really worried about getting purple out right now. But if you're doing this in a finished home, you'll really want to be careful. So you're going to use this primer, which essentially cleans the surface. And I like to do both the male and the female fitting. Let that set up for a second. I like to let it dry before I install the glue. And once you get that purple on there, you want to be careful so that you don't get any dirt or grime on there, because that will hurt your seal. Basically what you're doing is welding two pieces of plastic together with this PVC glue. Now when it comes to the glue, let's go ahead and apply a good amount to both the male and the female fitting. And then it's as simple as sliding it on and then giving it just a little bit of a turn. I like to give it a little bit of a turn like that because it really helps that glue adhere to all sides of the inside of this fitting. Then you're just gonna kind of let it sit. It pretty much sets up in a matter of a few seconds. I'm gonna set this aside while I work on the main pipe now, getting that all primed up. And then we'll attach this female end onto that drain that is down in that hole over there. All right, now for the drain, I just got an OD PVC drain. It's a two-part system. You have the insert, and you're going to need to take plumber's putty and put it on the inner rim of this, press it down into your shower pan, and then you have this threaded hex nut here that goes on the bottom of the shower pan and holds the drain tight. And there's two washers that come with it. The rubber washer needs to come in contact with the bottom of the shower pan. And then this fiber washer is kind of a slip washer so that you can tighten this without this twisting up. So when you put this all back together, make sure that your rubber washer is on top so that it touches the bottom of the shower pan. And then you can tighten this down with the channel locks. I'm going to measure the pipe that's coming up from my P-trap. I cut it so that it was flush with the bottom of my shower pan, but turns out that's a little bit too long, and when I go to install this, I had about, basically from where this threaded area is sticking up out of the shower still. So I got to measure this gap, which was a little over 1.5 inches, and I'm going to cut that pipe down into the hole a little bit further, because you want this to be able to sit flush and tight against the bottom of the shower pan. So if anything, you want to leave that pipe a little bit on the shorter side, because you don't want this sticking up out of the shower pan at all. I'm just using the Oatey plumber's putty on this shower flange, and just take a little bit out of the canister, roll it in your hands like Play-Doh, and then wrap it all the way around the perimeter. And now it's important that you add that rubber gasket first and then the fabric gasket second. That rubber one needs to be in contact with the bottom of the shower pan. Tighten it by hand and then finish it with the wrench until you get some good squeeze out, and then just clean up your mess afterwards, and you're going to have a great seal. The nice thing about that plumber's putty is it usually lasts forever. You don't have to worry about it leaking. And here's the finished product. The last thing I like to do to my shower pans is actually fill the bottom of them with spray foam. Get the gaps and cracks foam and fill from the back forward, and this is going to add so much strength to your shower pan. Alright guys, I'm in the shower currently, as you can see, and I set up my laser, and I decided to center my shower valve handle and the shower head on the halfway point of just this panel over here, which is 28 inches. So I'm going to put my laser on 14 inches. As far as the height goes, I don't think there's a real set height for this. I'm just going to put it at about waist height. I think that's just a comfortable height for a valve to be at. So let me move my laser quick onto that 14 mark, and then I'm going to set my height. I'll just shout out the measurement here at 36 inches and draw a little X. And then I'm going to take my hole saw, and I'm using a 3 1/4 inch hole saw bit, and I'm going to punch a hole right through the side of the shower panel. Go from behind and set the shower valve roughly in place, and then put the trim cover for the actual shower handle itself. I'm going to temporarily install this so that it holds that shower valve up, and then I'm going to make a mark on where I can put my blocking. And the whole point of me doing it this way, A, I'm not an expert at this, and B, it's going to hold it right where I need it so I can get that blocking in the perfect spot so I have the correct depth. Now, so once I find out where my blocking goes, I'm going to just take this all back apart, put my blocking in, screw it to my blocking, and then I'm going to attach all of my PEX fittings to the water, and then the shower valve should be near complete. Also, I should mention on these shower valves, it will tell you, I don't know if this will focus enough for you to see it, but on the back of this, it does say up, and it points, it has 2 arrows pointing in the direction that you need to put this so that it's in the upright spot. Since this is just a shower, make sure you get a valve that only has 3 ports. If yours has 4, you can just run a little stub and cap it down below. Most of them come with 4 for a tub shower combination unit. This is just a shower, so it has the 3 valves on it. So you might be able to see back here, I marked where my stud's going to sit, and all I did was measured and cut a stud that fits in this cavity, and I placed it right up next to my shower valve, and then I marked my stud layout on here, my stud placement on each side with a marker. And then I also marked on the board where the 2 notches of the valve sit, and then I'll just screw the valve itself to this board, and I'll know that it's at the right depth for this particular hole. Okay, now before I go and mount this shower valve onto that stud I just cut out, what I'm going to do is put all of my Teflon tape and fittings on it while it's away from the wall. It'll just make hooking everything up way easier in the long run. Now for the valve itself, I like to use these SharkBite fittings. You can use PEX or copper in them, and they're really, really handy and so fast. However, they are really expensive too. They range between $6 and like $15 a piece. So I wouldn't recommend using these throughout your whole house, but when it comes to like shower valves, I'd say it's worth every penny because time is money too, and it only takes a couple seconds to hook these up. And you get like your PEX pliers is so difficult to get into tight spaces like we're working with here. So I'm gonna wrap these. I put 4 layers or 4 rotations of Teflon tape on everything. And the way I'm gonna hook this one up, so of course I've got the 3, the left is gonna be my hot, the right is gonna be my cold, and then I'm going to keep a straight coupler going up to the top. Now these 2 are gonna be 90s because my water line is coming from the ground up. So I'll do a 90 down on both sides, and this is just going straight up to my shower head. And what you want to do when you're working with the line that goes to your shower head, or if there was a tub here, the line that goes down to your tub spout, is use copper for those stretches. Everything else in my house is PEX, but when you run up to a shower or down to a tub, you always want to use copper. It's way more rigid, and I believe it's a little bit wider in the inside diameter, so you'll get a little more water pressure. So I'm going to hook all 3 of my fittings up here, and then I'll show you how I attach it to that board. Alright, so now I have all the fittings put on my shower valve, and this is how it's going to look. I've got the 2 90s that drop down to where my water supply lines are at, and I have the coupler that goes straight up. So these threaded on, as I mentioned earlier. And you do want to make sure you get these on there pretty tight. Like I said, don't go shy on the Teflon tape because you don't want any leaks here. And on the other side with these SharkBite fittings, all I have to do now is slide my PEX into the water inlet holes, with my hot being on the left and the cold being on the right. And then I'm going to cut a piece of copper that I'm going to slide in here and then measure up to where I want my shower head height, which for us, I think I'm going to put the drop ear at about 7 feet. Okay, so I got the board mounted to the shower now. I had to notch out a little bit of that foam there so that my coupler could fit in the way I wanted it to. Now I'm going to measure from this coupler up to that black line right there, and that line is at 7 feet. And that's how long I'm going to cut my piece of copper going up to the shower. So now that I have my measurement, I'm just using this little rigid, super cheap, and you'll see a bunch of these in all different brands, and you basically just roll the copper and then you tighten it down and you just keep on rolling it, and eventually you'll work your way through it. Alright, so now that I have my copper pipe cut out, my camera probably won't focus on this, but it's a little drop ear with a female threaded end, and the other end is a SharkBite fitting. So all I'm going to do is slide in the copper pipe into one side of this. And the nice thing about these SharkBite fittings is you can pivot this still. It still turns inside here even though it's locked in place. And then I'm going to slide this other end into my shower valve. And on this drop ear you have 3 different ports where you can screw into that block we just put into place. And once I fasten that solid, the rough-in valve for this shower is going to be pretty much complete. So it really isn't that hard. If you have a couple specialty tools, you can get this done by yourself in a matter of, 20 minutes. So now I'm just going to throw this block up right behind that dog ear or the drop ear fitting, and then I'm going to go around to the other side and make sure I have it completely centered on that same 14-inch line, and then I'm going to screw it in from the back side of this board. Alright guys, sorry the lighting isn't the best. I'm kind of in the corner of the bathroom here, but essentially I've got my hot water line, and remember our hot water line goes to the left. Always keep your hot on the left. And if you can look at this right now, you can see where getting this big PEX pliers up and under all of this would be a huge pain in the butt. And I used it down here on my 90 because these fittings are way cheaper, but when it comes to the actual valve, I mean, all I have to do now is bend this up and under and slide it up and it's attached. That's seriously how easy it is, and that's all there is to it. I'm gonna run the cold water line, but it's the exact same concept. So that's just my take and my reasoning behind using the SharkBite fittings on the shower valves. I know they're more expensive, but I mean, it speaks for itself. Okay guys, I just finished the rough-in install. I'm not going to hook the handle up to the valve anytime soon because I still have to finish some drywall work overhead, and I would hate to hit this with anything. But as far as the valve goes and the overhead shower head attachment, those are both super solid. The way we supported these from behind, you don't have to worry about somebody, you know, wrenching on this too hard and it, you know, breaking or popping off. It's really, really solid with those boards behind there. And I'm gonna wrap up this video right here. I'll give you an update when we put in all the finished fixtures. We've got like a champagne gold color fixture in this bathroom. It's gonna look really sharp. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.